It's good to look around the Tampa Bay area and see that construction is still happening. We've made our way through the pandemic. Things have continued to develop and grow. And so we want to get an architect's perspective about what's happening right now in our Tampa Bay area, new technologies seen in architecture and real estate development. So I'm going to introduce you now to Jonathan Moore. He is president of Envision Advisors. Hello, Jonathan. Thanks for joining us. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you've been an architect and you've been in the Tampa Bay area for more than 20 years. As I just let our listeners know, you're president as an owner's representative in your company, Envision Advisors. What do you all do?
We provide a very unique service. We manage the design and construction process for kind of all things real estate. We work with a lot of nonprofits, for-profits, some other unique projects around town.
And so you've been doing this, you've been in construction and development in this arena for how long?
Roxanne, I'm so old. I have,
That's not a trick question. I'm sorry.
I've been in the architectural world for about 27 years now.
Okay, you've got a lot of experience. That's great. And,
I do.
And so elaborate for us a little bit what you were talking about, some of the work you do for nonprofits in the community. How do you help nonprofits?
Nonprofits tend to be board-led, and they always have constraints when they go to expand their property, build something new. They need someone who kind of builds consensus and can be that leader who will listen to the entire board and really execute on the strategy that the board comes up with. When I was an architect, I worked with a lot of churches, so I think I gained a lot of patience in dealing with churches. Churches are always constrained by price, construction cost, or schedule, or land, or something. But they're also usually very nice to work with. And I like working with happy people. So the nonprofits, when I became an owner's rep, really were a route that I wanted to go down. And we're very excited to have helped the Brian Glazer JCC, the St. Pete Pier. We're working with the Tampa Theater on our fourth project with them now. A couple of different schools. So it's just really exciting to be in front of those boards and turn those projects from napkin sketches to reality.
Oh, I bet. Now, you talk about all of your experience in this industry, and so I'm curious, how have things changed in the architectural world over the last recent decade? I know the technology has changed quite a bit, but what changes have you seen?
Well, that's a good question. I think I could take up the next 3 hours.
Right. It's pretty broad.
Certainly the technology, how we do things and how we present information has gone from, when I was in school, I learned to draw by hand. You don't learn to draw by hand any longer. You work in the computer, and the animation ability and virtual reality, and now moving out on the construction sites, the use of drones, which, we've got our commercial drone license to do inspections a lot easier now. Just the technology has really helped us serve our clients better and not necessarily increasing the cost of that.
How do you use drones? Well, how long have you been doing that also? But how do you use drones in the mix?
I've had my unmanned pilot's license, is what it's called, for 2 years now. And before then, I flew just sort of as a hobby. But really started using it about 2 years ago and getting good enough to, get up 100 feet in the air and 12 inches away from a building so we could really see, cracks or water leaks or investigate welds. So we're out on job sites. We're out on about 30 job sites a month. A lot of those we're taking the drone with us and taking aerial photos and then doing inspections rather than getting up on ladders. As you remember, I said I'm old. I don't like getting up on ladders anymore. So the drone really helps me stay safe and see things that normal inspections would miss.
I see. That makes sense. I have to focus on one thing you mentioned. You do have to have your, how did you describe it, non-pilot's license?
Unmanned
pilot's license. Okay. And so you have that. And so what do drones let you see, if you can elaborate on that a little bit more?
Well, the cameras that are on, even the off-the-shelf drones now are very, very high quality. We were on a job site last week inspecting connections between steel, the welds that connect the steel together. So we're able to get up 50 feet in the air and see that those welds are continuous. And what would have taken someone probably several hours to inspect all those welds, we could take photos of them or video in a matter of 10 or 15 minutes, get back to the office and zoom in on those photos, really just to make sure the quality is there that we need for the building to stay standing.
I see. And so you have to, how long did it take you to get certified to be a pilot for a drone?
It's about a 6-month process. The federal government, the FAA, is involved, so they eat up a lot of time. I think I studied for the exam for about a month. There's some great online resources, and then it's the test. You have to go to an airport locally to take the test, and then the federal government does its whatever process they have to go through to give you that card. So it's not a difficult thing, but if you're flying for any reason other than a hobby, you need this commercial drone license, and the regulations are changing every day. You really need to keep up on what you can and can't do. Tampa is a very unique airspace in that we have MacDill Air Force Base, Tampa International. So there are very, very unique constraints to flying in Tampa that you really get to know as a commercial drone pilot.
If you're doing work over off, Bayshore area, south down there, and all of a sudden you've got your drone a little off path, you'll have the military, you'll have the Air Force looking into what you're up to.
You will. And what's interesting, the new drone technology with what's called geofencing will not let your drone take off if you don't have proper approvals in place. I've had situations too close to the base where the base has just said, no way, you're not going to fly. And my drone just will not take off.
Wow. What is yours? I'm picturing the drones, maybe more the drones that the hobbyists have, but how big are the drones that you use?
I have 2 drones. They're basically off the shelf. DJI is a very popular brand out there, and those I have a mini and a professional, but they're not much bigger than my mini is the size of an iPad or an iPhone. And the Pro is not that much larger. So it's kind of scary how small they are and, what you can do with them. So that allows me to get in very tight spaces. I do have insurance, so if I wreck, I have propeller guards, but I have hit things in the past that's caused it to sort of drop to the ground, and you need to be insured when that happens.
Oh, I bet. And so when you are thinking about drones and moving forward, they're like cell phones. They're going to get smaller and more advanced. It's like, oh, is that a bumblebee outside my window? No, it's a drone spying on me.
It's pretty scary. It is pretty scary.
And so why do you feel it's so important to adapt? I mean, you see instances of this all the time, adapting that new technology into your business.
Well, I think, technology develops and helps empower business owners. I'm a small business owner to do their job better. And when you do your job better, you can do one of 2 things. You can provide a better service to your clients and potentially charge more money for an enhanced service, or you just grow as a business. We've chosen to embrace new technology and not necessarily charge more for it, but to improve our services to our clients and future clients. And I think embracing technology really helps to do that.
What are some of the craziest things you've ever seen using drone technology?
Some of the craziest things? Oh my! It's funny what construction happens when someone can't see it on rooftops that are not accessible. Unfortunately, We've seen jobs halfway done, roofs that are wide open that I could pretty much fly a drone into. The openings were so large. Roof tiles that have fallen off brand new buildings. It's not necessarily they're shocking. It's just, when eyes aren't on a job, sometimes the quality isn't there. And our job is to enforce the quality.
you mentioned earlier your nonprofits, your work that you've done with nonprofits, I should say. And some of these buildings or places are places we're all familiar with in the Tampa Bay area. The Brian Glazer JCC, the Tampa Theater, Girl Scouts. Tampa Theater is one of my favorites. So when did you work on the Tampa Theater?
We are still working on it. We replaced all the seats. I hope everyone is more comfortable in the Tampa Theater now. We restored the lobby. We just recently finished upgrading their air conditioning system with new COVID-friendly filtration. And the city of Tampa, 2 weeks ago, just approved a design to bring a second screen to the Tampa Theater. So we're doing a micro cinema at the theater now, and have just started the architects working on that design.
Oh, cool. And so what are some of the other projects that you have going right now or in the future lined up for?
At the Tampa Theater?
In general.
I will tell you that the market is great right now in Tampa. We have projects waiting for us to start. People are coming to Florida very, very fast. So we have residential projects on the books. We have new office projects coming along. A few nonprofits, some churches are expanding. So there are great things happening in Tampa with regards to real estate.
It's so great that we were able to not stop construction for these past 12 months and able to keep things going. I know other places around the country have really suffered in that regard.
Yes, you're absolutely right. We are very blessed. And the CARES funding helped a lot of people. It helped us get through a really tough time when everything was stopped, but it is back, and we are very excited to be a part of it.
And so you are seeing that growth. I mean, we just read about getting the additional seat in Congress in our state, and that'll probably go in the Central Florida area. But you see firsthand Tampa Bay area booming as far as real estate, as far as construction goes?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I give the example, look at all the tower cranes downtown. I think that each tower crane represents about 1,000 projects that are under construction in Tampa. So for every new tower crane, think, well, we just got another 1,000 projects throughout the Bay Area. It's wonderful to see.
I have been asking a lot of my guests this when I can get a feel for what's happening in their specific industry. What about labor? Has that been a struggle for you as of late? Because we've seen that in certain industries.
It's a good question. With construction staying essential service, people stayed in the area that are the tradesmen and women. We don't see any issues with labor right now. We do see issues with material. You did have factories shut down, and there were some wildfires in the west that have affected wood production. But from a labor, I think Tampa's a strong market. There are some really big projects that pull labor in certain directions, but the labor is there to support what's happening in Tampa now.
You know, I always ask, another question I like to ask my guests is how they got into their line of work. And it's funny because I'm fascinated by architecture. I always love looking at floor plans. I know that's just one tiny piece of it, but I know my brain doesn't work like that. I'm not good in physics and engineering. That's not a path I could have taken. What advice would you give someone who wants to go into your industry? What kind of skill sets, aptitudes do they need to have?
Sure. I think problem solving. The desire to solve problems is probably the first thing. And that goes for an architect, a contractor, an owner's rep, anything in real estate. The passion to solve problems, if you're in school, the math will come. The English literature will come. The business will come. But to have a passion for solving problems and developing an approach to solving problems, I would say is, in my experience, kind of the number one quality that I would want to possess if I was going to go into something like this.
That makes sense. Where can we find more information about you online? How do we get a hold of you, Jonathan?
You can go to envisionadvisors.com, envision with an I, advisors with an O-R-S. We have a great social media presence on Facebook and Instagram. If you just Google or look us up on either of those platforms, you can kind of see more of the culture of what we do and the day-to-day work. We're down in Miami today looking at a few projects.
It's crazy down there, right?
Appreciate that.
It's even crazier down there in Miami, right?
It is, yes.
And so what kind of advice do you have? I asked you advice about for those who want to get into your field. What about building construction advice in general with with the certain trends we're seeing right now with the booming construction going on in Tampa Bay?
I would say if you're either looking to build something or you're involved with the design and construction world, patience. Costs are very volatile right now. They're going up and they're going down. Jurisdictions take a long time through the permitting process. And I would just ask for everyone to have a little bit of patience in kind of going through the day-to-day. COVID has thrown everyone for a loop. Resources are challenged, but we're all getting through it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciated and enjoyed talking with you. Jonathan Moore, thank you.
Thank you, Roxanne. It's nice talking to you.
That's all of our time for today on The Current. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We'll talk with you soon. For everyone here at Beasley Media Group, for Shriner, I'm Roxanne Wilder.